This is a podcast about one woman's mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners write better business books. Each week, we tackle your writing excuses, because there are excuses too, and help you beat the blank page of doom so that you can write the book that'll grow your life and your business. Now here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the 1000 Authors Show with Vicky Fraser, and here's my husband, Joe.
Hello.
Hello. If you are watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that I am once again wearing a magnificent hat because I am having a terrible hair day because I'm going to the hairdressers tomorrow. And we've just spent, how long have we just spent?
We've just spent like 20 minutes with Vicky just going like this with her hair.
Joe's, I have to describe this for everybody who's listening. It doesn't make good radio. He was patting his hair and generally being mean. Yes.
And then we finally decided, when I say we, I mean Vicky, finally decided that what she needed was a hat. So here is a hat.
I did need a hat because otherwise I would spend the whole thing just looking, just to, my hair looks like shit and I can't deal with it.
Whereas now you're wearing a hat.
I'm now wearing a magnificent hat. I'm
Excellent.
Looking forward to my hairdresser tomorrow because then my hair's going to look amazing again. It's going to be cool.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, welcome to the podcast. We're drinking gin. What are we drinking today?
We're drinking gin. We are drinking Wild Nap Gin, fantastically feral, London dry gin, handcrafted in the wilds of Herefordshire.
It's local gin. And it's a lovely bottle. I do like a nice bottle.
Nice bottle.
And what are the botanicals, Joe? While I have some.
They are foraged fruits and herbs from the surrounding area of the distillery,
Delicious.
which is just up the road in Bredwardine.
Yeah, Bredwardine is very close to the Dingle. It's very close to where we live. It's actually delicious. It's really, really nice. Yeah, because we had it. There's a new shop in town in Leominster, and
What's it called?
It's Vine and Juniper.
Maybe
Juniper and Vine.
Juniper and Vine.
It's one of those. It's one of those two things. It's got the words vine and the word juniper in it. And I thought it was just a wine shop. And then we went in, and they've got a really good section of gin. Mm-hmm. I've literally had one sip, and now I can't talk. And we had a really nice chat with the guy who...
They were like super chatty and friendly and pleasant and wanted to talk to us.
And wanted to have us drink.
They definitely wanted to have us drink something.
Yeah.
And then,
we had some tasters, and we tasted this one, and it was delicious. So we bought some. And they just emailed me to say that they've got some Empress gin in, which is purple gin, and it's really cool.
Note to people out there who do not collect email addresses for business purposes.
Collect email addresses, because now we're going to go in on Saturday and buy a bottle of Empress gin. So yeah, super important. Yeah, that's it. I was going to be wearing also, as well as a magnificent hat. Well, that wasn't in the plan. Also, a magnificently bright stripy jumper. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm not is because I think that everybody on YouTube, and if you're listening to this, go and have a look on YouTube, because I've been in immense amounts of pain all day because of a new move that I learned on the trapeze yesterday, which the lovely Ed taught me. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed. And
it's called elbow rolls, and it's just all of the skin has gone off my spine. So that's painful in the shower and also, generally. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like, you said I look like Popeye earlier when you came in. I've got the most massive swellings on each bicep, so I look like I've got giant bicep muscles, but actually it's a horrific hematoma on each arm. I'm laughing because I'm hoping that it's not going to kill me. Mm. But if you're watching, that's my right arm. It's not so good, but the left arm is particularly impressive, I think. So
looking pretty bad there.
Looking pretty bad. Very painful. It's actually not painful to use the muscles, but when I kind of squeeze my arm together, it just hurts.
And that's day one.
Day one. I'm going to keep taking photographs of the progress of these bruises because I think they're going to be magnificent. Mm. Today's word is magnificent. I've used it several times. Right, what are we talking about? We are talking... Well, we're doing the 7 Deadly Sins.
7 Deadly Sins.
We had a break last week while I interviewed Julia.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, Julia. She gave me a great interview about book covers and things like that. So we're back with 7 Deadly Sin number 4.
Really, number 4? Have we not done more than that already?
No.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So this is sloth.
Sloth.
Yes. Not today, Satan. We're talking about sloth. Do you want me to tie those two things together?
You're going to need to.
Okay, but first, what are you reading, Joe?
I'm reading The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan.
Is it good?
Book 8, about 80% in, and I might take a break at the end of this one because I kind of need to read something else.
I think you should take a break. There are so many books in the world, Joe.
Well, I know, but I'm kind of... I feel like the thing that put me off just kind of pushing on through to the end is that I looked on my Kindle to see how many more books there were, and I think there's 14.
You know they're making it into a series. Just watch the series.
Oh, they're never going to do 14 books worth, though, are they?
Hopefully not, no. Would you like to know what I'm reading?
Well, go on. What are you reading?
I'm reading Candide by Voltaire. Which sounds kind of snooty.
It sounds pretty... It sounds like a...
In the original French. I'm not reading in the original
Sounds
French.
like a humanities jumper-wearing student reading a book ostentatiously in a pub.
It's the... No, it's not. It's not that. It's the book club. The local book club.
Okay.
It was their choice for March. So I am reading. I've never read any Voltaire. Didn't know what to expect. It's political satire. And I'm obviously reading a translation, not the original French, because I can read French, but not well enough to read a book. And yeah, it's all right. I'm not sure. There are places where it's very funny. I think, to be honest, it's losing something for me because there's a lot of footnotes explaining what's going on, like the historical context of some of the words.
Of its time and the politics are important, and knowing what the history and when it's written and all that stuff. Exactly.
And there's a lot of poking the church and poking the political, the king and the politicians of the time. And I approve of all of that. But yeah, I think I'm probably losing something of the story in reading all of the footnotes, but I need to read all the footnotes because otherwise I won't understand the story. And so I think the thing to do would be to go back and read it again afterwards, but I'm probably not going to. So it's a bit odd. It's written, I don't know, I'm not sure I like it. I mean, it's a good storyteller, but the style of his writing is I don't like flowery writing.
Okay.
Because it just is wank. Frankly, really flowery writing. And oh my God.
Vicky's review of Voltaire.
No.
Wank.
Not wank.
Not wank.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said...
It's not. No, it's the opposite of flowery writing.
Oh, okay.
Very basic. And I think
stark.
Maybe a little bit too stark. I don't know. But on the subject of very flowery writing, I sent a thing to a fellow book writing expert the other day because she wrote an email on the subject of purple prose, she calls it, like super flowery prose. And I had literally just come back from the self-publishing formula show live, which was awesome, by the way. Really, really enjoyed it. Great day. And Mark Dawson. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
He's lovely as well. Met him. He's a really nice guy. But he did a presentation at the end on all sorts of things, but one of the things was don't read your own reviews, and if you do, don't take them personally. And he had this review from this guy who was basically like, sit down because you're just a shit writer and blah blah blah, and you might be selling books, but you're not a literary blah, and I'm a literary expert. And then he followed this up, and then he followed this up with a really abusive email, like take a seat, short pants. He actually wrote that. And Mark Dawson's like £1 million plus a year author, yeah,
right.
Self-publishing author, and he's just like, okay. But he showed us a bit of this prose, and it started off, caves yawned like hippopotami, and then it got worse from there, and it was literally the best bad thing I've ever read.
Nice.
It was just, and so he's taken that and he's created like a load of t-shirts and things, like the level of writer that you are, going from yawning hippopotami to pedestrian journeyman. He called him a pedestrian journeyman. Anyway, it was great. That was a massive tangent, but I make no apologies for it because it's worth it.
Yeah, okay.
Important stuff. It's good to write interesting descriptions of stuff when you're writing, but not like that. Yawning hippopotami. Anyway. I'm reading Candide by Voltaire, but I'm also reading non-fiction, of course. I'm reading Do You Talk Funny by David Niall. I've almost finished it. I did literally finished it. It's really good. It's written by a guy who had such a fear of public speaking that it paralyzed him. He was sick beforehand and, really, really bad. And he wanted to learn how to become a better public speaker and give a better presentation. So he decided to spend a year becoming a stand-up comedian. I know, right? And so he went and did this, and he learned all about how to be funny, and he won a moth storytelling Grand Slam, which is a moth storytelling comp, and then came second in the Grand Slam, which is incredible.
Nice.
And yeah, so he's written this book about how to be funny, but really how to give a really good business presentation, how to find 2 or 3 funny moments. Because even if you find one funny moment, your business presentation is going to be better than pretty much everyone else's out there, because they're boring. Frankly, if you give a lot of business presentations and you're offended right now, then learn how to be a bit funny, learn how to tell a story. And the book's really, really good. I've really enjoyed it. I've put it on the Bookaholics Anonymous list for 2 months' time, and I'll be rereading it then because I've made loads of notes, but I want to,
Cool.
Yeah, I'm looking for an improv workshop. I was looking for, I know. And I've decided that I am going to do some stand-up comedy. That very thought of that makes me want to vomit. Because it's like, I've just won Pole Theatre in the comedy category.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I know I can be funny on a stage because I've literally just won a competition doing so.
Mm-hmm.
But that's physical comedy. I didn't have to use my words. And I know I can make people laugh in print, but having to stand on a stage in front of people, and I know I can make people laugh doing that as well because I give a lot of presentations and talks and I make people laugh. But the idea of deliberately having to do it to be a comedian, I don't know.
Scary business.
Anyway, so the 7 deadly sins, number 4, sloth.
Sloth.
Neat segue.
Is it sloth or sloth?
I say sloth.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I like to think of the little furry creatures. Is it sloth?
But I'm not
Could have
sure.
researched this.
Could have researched. Could have
Could have
found
been
out.
professionals. Actually, I saw when I was researching sloth, it said how to pronounce. I was like, I know how to pronounce it. Screw you, Wikipedia. And now I'm regretting my decisions. Anyway, do you know what the punishment for sloth is, Joe?
Spider bites.
No, it's actually not. It's my punishment for sloth is eternal death by spider bites over and over again.
Okay.
Or possibly being forced to sit in front of a blank page and be unable to write forever.
Oof.
But do you know what the biblical punishment is? Snake pits.
Snake pits.
Mm-hmm. So in hell, if you commit sloth, which is a mortal sin, seems quite harsh. I think that's like refusing to do God's work or something. I think if you're just like generally lazy in a low level way, it's not a mortal sin. It's one of those ambiguous sins if you start reading about it. Anyway, if you end up getting the mortal end of it,
The mortal end of the
mortal
sloth.
end of the sloth, and you get sent to hell, then you're going to get thrown into a snake pit. I don't know if that's just once or a lot.
Snake pits all the way down.
Snake pits all the way down. So yeah, so the definition of sloth. Do you know what the definition of sloth is? Without reading it off the prompts.
No, I do not know the definition. I imagine not taking advantage of opportunities and not doing the things.
That's not a bad definition.
Missing, not doing the things that should get done.
An aversion to doing the damn work. That's what it says in the Bible.
An aversion to doing the damn work.
Yeah. Actually, the internet, dictionary.com, defines sloth as reluctance to work or make an effort. Semicolon, laziness.
Okay.
And I am not accusing anyone listening to this of being lazy, because everyone listening to this is a business owner and kind of by definition is not lazy, really.
Or simply unemployable.
How rude.
I mean,
Also true.
possible.
Although humans are naturally inclined to be lazy. We are evolutionarily wired up to conserve energy.
Yeah. Smash loads of calories, sit
Lie
down.
on the sofa. Yeah. Which is why cavemen were such lazy bastards.
Yes. And I guess it's only evolutionarily speaking quite a recent phenomenon where you actually get to survive.
Yeah.
If you're slothful.
Tangent number 2.
Okay.
Isn't it incredible that we are sitting here now? Right from the beginning of the primordial soup, right?
Everything is reproduced.
Everything has reproduced and survived to reproduce to produce us.
Mm-hmm.
That is bonkers, right?
I feel like such a disappointment. All that soup. Trying so hard.
I think you're all right. I like you. So yeah, that's blown my tiny little mind. I want you to just take a moment, dear listener, and let that blow your tiny little mind as well. And then also consider that evolution has produced Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, which is kind of depressing. Anyway, back in the room. So yeah, we are wired to be slothful, but that is no excuse. Doing finger guns. I've had 3 sips of gin.
It's good gin.
The reluctance to work or make an effort is actually painfully familiar to me.
Yes.
And I think, you would... I've said before that I'm lazy, and you argue with me, don't you?
I do not think you are lazy.
No. But I kind of am.
I think you can procrastinate a bit, but you're not lazy.
And that's sort of what we're talking about. But before we go any further, I've lost my... What's this? Before we go any further, I do want to make one thing super clear, because one of the symptoms of depression is slothfulness.
Right.
And lassitude and that feeling of being unable to get going. And that is not what we're talking about today.
Right. Because that's a medical condition.
That is a medical condition, yeah. I remember I have had pretty bad depression several times in my life. And I know what it's like. It's literally an inability to, and like even now looking back, I'm identifying periods of my life where I thought I was being lazy, and it's like, actually I don't think I was. I think that was just another symptom of what I was going through. It was that inability to get off the sofa, do anything but lie on my side and watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And even sometimes that was too much trouble. But yeah, I was talking to a client of mine recently, and they told me that they were, not recently, a little while ago, and they told me that they were sleeping 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. They would get up and then they would sit on the sofa and then they would lie on the sofa and then they would do nothing. And they were like, I'm being really lazy and I'm not doing the things I need to do. And I kind of was like, wait a minute, that's not normal behavior. That's something else. And I think you need to go and talk to someone. And so, yeah, because I was like, I can't do anything for my business. I just feel like I don't want to, and I can't be bothered, and I'm really lazy. And so if that sounds like something that you're going through, you are not lazy, and it's not that you can't be bothered. It sounds to me very much like you are depressed, which means you need to get help for it, which doesn't mean necessarily going to the doctors and getting prescribed antidepressants. It means my client went and got cognitive behavioural therapy and a bunch of other counselling and stuff. And she's doing so much better. She's like a different person.
Cool.
Which is really, really awesome. So that's not what we are talking about today. Right. What we are talking about today is the aversion we all sometimes feel, and often if you are me, to sitting down and doing the damn work. Yeah. Do you ever feel like that?
Oh, God, yeah. I have, at work, I have a system for dealing with the difficult things that I don't want to deal with. I put them all in a pile, and they go on the corner of my desk. They go on the corner of my desk, and I ignore them and do things that I enjoy more until somebody really convinces me that shit's important.
And that's actually
then maybe I'll do it.
But that's not a bad tactic, because you work in a place where other people give you things to do. I actually think that's not a bad tactic, because other people will often give you bullshit things to do that they think is important for reasons because it creates busy work. And you're like, actually, I've got this important stuff to do. And so until somebody actually comes and like slaps you around the head and says, this needs doing or things will set on fire, I don't think that's unreasonable. Because it then teaches, because I bet a lot of stuff just gets forgotten, right?
Just goes away.
Yeah, it just goes away because it's not important, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so in an ideal world...
I mean, you could say that's a totally interesting and effective management style, or you could just say, I'm lazy and I don't want to do it. Both of which are kind of true. Yeah,
but I think, I employ a similar tactic with myself, because, I have like a million ideas an hour.
Yes.
And I will write them all down, and I will put some of them on my to-do list. And then if I haven't, like, I've got ideas that were great ideas at the time that I can't even remember what they were now from 2 years ago. And so I think if they fall off the bottom of your to-do list, they're not important enough for you to do it. So I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to do.
Maybe. Well, thank you for bolstering my...
I feel like I want you to tell the story that you told earlier about the meeting, but also that you can't. Can you tell the story? Do you need more time to pass?
The other day I was sat in a meeting.
Can you tell this story?
Yeah, it wasn't... kind of didn't feel like it was going anywhere. And one of my colleagues phoned me, which is normally like awesome. And I answered the phone, said hello, and then I paused for a moment, and then I said, on fire, his whole head, and left the meeting. Which I thought was great. It worked really well. I just didn't go back.
Have there been any repercussions?
Nope.
Awesome. Okay, so that is Joe's top tip for this episode for getting out of meetings.
Yep.
Answer the phone. I mean, I think that's been used since the dawn of time for getting out of bad dates as well.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, well done, Joe.
No worries.
Anyway, aversion to doing the damn work.
Yes.
That was an aversion to doing the meeting work.
The meeting, which...
not really work.
Not really sure it qualified as work.
Anyway, but when it comes to writing, certainly, we like to talk about it. We like to plan. And do you remember those days?
Tell people about it.
Tell people about it, yeah. But do you remember those days when we had to do exams?
Yeah.
Did you spend ages making really brightly coloured revision timetables?
No, I spent ages not revising because I hadn't made a really colourful revision timetable yet.
So that was your mistake.
Because you spent all of your revising time making colourful timetables. And then because you'd spent so long making a colourful timetable, you had to remake it because it was wrong and time had passed now.
Yeah. And it was very pretty and artistic. And really, I should have submitted that as my art GCSE.
Multiple versions thereof.
Yeah. And it could have been really profound. It could have been like the modern version of Atlas pushing the What's-It up the mountain endlessly as like an endless...
Do you mean Sisyphus?
I mean Sisyphus. Obviously, I mean Sisyphus. Whatever. I didn't have a classical education. I did.
I didn't. Even I know it's Sisyphus pushing things up hills.
Imagine.
Jeez.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Atlas held up the world. Sisyphus pushed rocks up the mountain.
So yeah, we talk about doing the work. We plan the work with very elaborate revision timetables, and then suddenly the windows need cleaning. Or there's a sudden vicious emergency to redecorate the entire house.
Yes. Well, there's some tiling that needs regrouting somewhere.
Yeah. I had a coaching call with one of my clients just the other day, and my client told me they had to have everything ready in order to write. So mess tidied away, washing up done, laundry done. They had to have all that stuff done because otherwise they'd sit down to write and immediately get up and go and do one of the things.
Well, it sounds like both of those are procrastination.
They are procrastination. And that's what I'm talking about. This episode really is I'm torturing sloth into procrastination, which is kind of what it is.
Is it? Mind you, I find
it's my podcast.
It's your podcast. Of course it is. Yes, absolutely. You're right. But you do the same kind of thing, don't you?
Yes, absolutely I do. I did today. Do you know what I did? As I was planning this today, I looked over and noticed that my winning Pole Theatre comedy sash had fallen off my door. So instead of just leaving it where it was, I went and spent probably a good 5 minutes figuring out how to put it on the door so that I could look over and read it. And I still can't read it, but at least it's not on the floor. And I did that whilst writing this plan for this episode.
This episode has a plan?
You're looking at the plan. How very dare you?
Okay.
So yeah, outstanding stuff, distracted, done. My client. Outstanding stuff.
Words.
Distracted. Yeah, I know, words. Things that are outstanding, things that need doing. Things that need doing, and I'm doing like big air quotes.
Yes.
They get in the way of doing stuff. Of doing the stuff that matters.
They're simpler than doing. They're usually simpler than doing the thing you need to do, aren't they?
Oh yeah, I like putting the washing out because I can stand there in the sunshine and the rain and watch the sheepies.
Don't put the washing
around.
out in the rain.
Wind. Words. This is
great, Jen.
I feel like we should start again. I've literally had 4 sips.
For those of you who've been counting, I've had more.
This is how much I don't drink these days.
You need to get on it.
I don't want to get on it, thank you. Don't really like it. I mean, I like the gin. I don't really like the drinking. Anyway. Yes.
Right, words. Washing, rain.
Yeah.
Distraction.
Feeling, exhibit A. Yeah, in this 7 Deadly Sins series, I'm torturing this particular sin thusly. Sloth is a reluctance to get started and do the work, and it's procrastination. And the thing is, I'm perfectly willing to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's the getting started that's the tricky bit. So, and here is another truth as well, and I got this from my research into sloth and deadly sins and things. The devil makes work oh my God.
The devil makes work for idle hands.
Yes. And when I say devil, I mean that idiot in your brain who suddenly decides there are more important things to do.
See, I always thought that was like just a polite cover story for masturbation.
Oh, maybe. I never thought of that. Yeah, you're probably right, aren't you?
Mm.
Keep people busy so they don't, enjoy themselves. No enjoyment.
No enjoyment.
Every sperm is sacred.
Indeed.
So does that mean that women are allowed to masturbate?
No. No. No.
Maybe you put a warning on the beginning of this. If you're listening to this with your children, you're going to have some big words to explain to them. Have fun.
Enjoy.
Which is fine, because, you should be able to talk to your kids about this stuff. If you're old enough to do it, you're old enough to talk about it. Anyway.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway, the devil makes work for idle hands, and some of that work is like...
Masturbating.
Please don't say that again on my podcast.
Okay, sorry.
Cleaning the windows, scrolling Instagram.
Yeah.
Getting angry on Facebook. Using Twitter to get super anxious about everything that's bad in the world right now.
Many bad things.
Like the coronavirus.
Awesome.
And, if you really want to get worried about that, and, it's not, I'm not saying don't be worried about it, because I think it's quite serious, and I think it's maybe going to get more serious.
We're going to have a shit few weeks, aren't we?
But panicking is not going to help anybody, and if you want to panic, go and spend a bunch of time on social media, because that will make you worried, because it makes me worried, and I'm like, I don't want to panic about this.
You're a sensible person. As an aside, why all the toilet rolls?
Well, yes, I've been thinking about that.
Oh, okay. Go.
And I saw...
Do not all people buy toilet rolls in, like, packs of 2? Is that what
Possibly.
happens?
We've got about a year's supply of toilet roll, but we've had that year's supply of toilet roll for about 6 months now, because we get our toilet roll from Who Gives a Crap.
Who are good people.
Who are good people, and they give 50% of their profits to charity, which is awesome, to build toilets in the developing world. And they send their toilet rolls wrapped in paper, by the way, so no plastic at all, and it comes in a box, and you get like 48 rolls. And we have got enough toilet rolls to build a fort, and I know because I've built a fort. And then I put them all back again. And I built a fort with
and then we stopped them sending us any more for a while. Yes,
because we were like, we're running out of actual space. They've taken up a whole tiny bathroom. Our second bathroom is like, it's like... Anyway, so we're fine for toilet roll. So if anyone needs any toilet roll, we will swap toilet roll for getting the outside of our house plastered.
Gonna have to be pretty desperate for loo roll at that point.
I know, right? It's a seller's market, Joe.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, the explanation for that is social proof.
Yes.
Yeah, because somebody, I think it might have started, and Tanya, my friend Tanya, hi Tanya, wrote a really good post on this on Facebook, and she spelled it out really well, and I'm going to mangle it totally. But she was talking about social proof and how I think it was one place that had run out of toilet roll, and then everybody was like, shit, there's no toilet roll, and we need to panic buy toilet roll. And one of the symptoms of COVID-19 can be diarrhea.
Right.
It's not one of the major symptoms. Most of it is like common cold and flu, because that's it. That's what the coronaviruses are. They're cold viruses. This one's more serious than a cold, obviously. But yeah, and that was one of the symptoms. And so that's what started it. And then it's social proof. When you see everybody else doing something, if you see loads of people buying loads of toilet paper, you're going to do the same thing.
You get on with it, otherwise you're going to run out.
Yeah, and it's ludicrous. And the media hasn't bloody helped. Social media doesn't help. There's a lot of irresponsible reporting going on, and there's just a lot of stupidity on social media. It's just like, oh my God, there's no toilet roll, and that just fuels the whole thing. So that's your explanation.
Okay.
Anyway, right. So yes, all of the things that can get in the way. Devil makes work for idle hands. Your idle hands are going to scroll Instagram, they're going to mess around on Facebook, they're going to finally learn how to cook an omelette and then forget how to cook an omelette and cook a car crash, which is what I did today. And you're going to do that absolutely necessary research online, which coincidentally includes that Bored Panda article about 50 cats that need a cuddle.
Right.
It's true though. And so in today's episode, I want to share with you...
Oh my God, we only getting to the point now.
We want to share with you 3 ways... There's a lot of points there. It's very pointy. 3 ways that you can de-sloth yourself and write your damn book. Are you ready?
Okay, go.
Way the first. Number 1. Schedule time in your calendar just as you would if you're working on a client project or having a meeting with a customer or going to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Make it real and make it a priority. You cannot write a book by fitting it in. Unless you are a person who takes very long train journeys, like on a commute, if you've got like a regular job and you're taking a long train journey on a commute, that would be the perfect time to write your book. Mm-hmm. Like an hour there and back. That would be cool. But the rest of us who are fitting things in, you are not going to write a book by fitting it in, because You're not going to fit it in, first of all. You're not going to. And secondly, your thinking and writing time will be too fragmented to build any kind of concentration or flow. And also, thirdly, your brain will relegate the job of writing a book to unimportant because that's the way you're treating it. You don't just fit in things that are important to you, do you?
No.
You make time for them. So let me ask you, dear listener, is writing a book important to you? Is doing the thing that you're doing, if you're not writing a book, if you want to do something, is it important to you? If it's not, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't give it any more thought. If it is important to you, then make time for it. Treat it as if it's important. Schedule time as if it was a client. And that's what I tell all of my coaching clients. It's what I do myself. I don't just try and fit in writing a book. It's scheduled into my calendar and it's immovable because I am my most important client and you should be your most important client.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that means an hour less Netflix each evening. Just for a short time. Just until you've written your book, not forever. Yeah. Unless you're watching The Witcher, in which case there's always time for The Witcher. He needs to take his shirt off more often. Anyway. There's a lot of naked ladies in The Witcher and not a lot of naked him, and I object to that. I mean, I don't object to the naked ladies, I just object to the
disparity.
Yeah.
The unbalance.
The unbalance. More naked him.
Okay.
More naked Geralt. Way the second.
Set separate time to do research so you don't disappear down the YouTube wormhole only to resurface hours later, ashamed and regretful and anxious.
Yes. Well, no, because when I procrastinate like that, I'm like, I'm just doing this thing. I get increasingly anxious and then I stop procrastinating and then I just feel really anxious because I'm like, I've just wasted an hour. It's an hour of my life I will never get back and I wish I hadn't. And quite often it's avoidable. Well, it's always avoidable. So yeah, and if your objection to this research thing is, oh, well, maybe I'll start writing, realize I don't know enough and I need to do some research, then my objection to your objection is make a note in big capital letters and highlight it in a different colour and all the rest of it and write in your journal that you need to go and find out more information about this particular thing.
And then carry on.
And then carry on writing the next part.
Yeah.
And then come back, do the research later in your scheduled research time. And then, you can write about it. I need to research more is definitely your slothful inner dickhead piping up.
I have had a similar thing this week. One of my guys is on site doing a really large body of work that isn't very exciting. It's a whole bunch of like data entry and calculating shit and doing stuff, and it's not great fun. And I keep having phone calls off him where he goes, oh, I found this problem. And so I spoke to this guy and then I sent this email and then I went to them and now we're going to go to a meeting and do you know anything about this thing? And it's like, just mark it on a list of things we need to deal with and just move on to the next part.
Yeah.
And just, when we've finished them all, we'll come back and we'll have a list of things we need to do. But don't spend all of your time chasing these problems now. Just move on to the next thing that doesn't have a problem and do it.
Yes. Make progress.
Yeah.
Make progress. You can always go back and research later. Way the third, and this was a total game changer for me. Remove friction.
Are we back to the...
No. No, we're not. Remove friction. Example, I don't practice my guitar nearly enough, which means I'm shite at playing the guitar.
Right. Seems harsh.
No, it's true. Before, my guitar lived in the house, so I had to go into the house to play it at lunchtime, which meant that I didn't really play the guitar. So now it lives in my office. It's in the kitchen bit. And that still doesn't work very well because it's in its case. So my next step is I'm going to get a guitar stand so that my guitar comes out and it sits there, like there, just over there, and it stares at me accusingly until I pick it up and play it. And because even the act, and this might sound really stupid, but even the act of just picking up my guitar case, putting it down, opening it up and taking the guitar out, that's a lot of stuff that I have to do before I sit down and play it.
You just want to sit down and play it?
Yeah, whereas if my guitar is like there on a stand in front of me, all I have to do is walk past it, pick it up and sit down. And so you might be listening to this and thinking, well, that's stupid. It's only a tiny thing. It's not a tiny thing. I've got another example for you as well. If I wake up in the morning with a hunch that I won't want to go and train at the studio later on, if I wake up tired or if I just wake up thinking, oh, I've got a really busy day today and I could really do with staying and working late and, getting stuff done, I have a shower and then I immediately dress in my pole or trapeze clothes
Right.
And then I put like a pair of tracky bottoms and a jumper on top of them. So when it comes time to go to the studio and actually train, I can just get in my car and go. I don't have to go upstairs, get changed, blah, blah, blah. Because that's the friction. It's the going upstairs and the getting changed. Whereas if I'm already dressed in what I need to do, I can just lock up my office, walk through the house, pick up my keys and get into the car. And it makes a massive, massive, massive difference. And I guess you probably find the same because you've said before that you sometimes struggle. You're always glad you've gone to BJJ, but you sometimes struggle to drag yourself there.
Yeah.
Especially when you've been home all day. So that's a friction, isn't it? If you come home first.
Oh, yeah, I try not to come home first because it's difficult to get back up and go out again.
Yeah. On a Friday you do because you come and pick me up and then we don't have to have 2 cars in Hereford. But yeah, so that's my, and for writing a book, I get everything out the night before. I've got a notebook ready, open at the right page with my notes on it. I have my clean glass ready for water. I come in with my cup of tea already. I don't have to make a cup of tea. I walk into my office with a cup of tea. I even open the document I'm writing in. So if I'm writing a Scrivener, I even open the document I'm working on and then close the lid on my laptop so I don't have to start my laptop up the next day.
Dig it out.
I just open it up and there it is. I might have the research that I was working on. I will have that where I need it to be so I don't have to go digging around on the internet. And it's really, really, really important. So yeah, way the third is remove that friction and just make it easier to sit down and write. Every time something, and this is a really good tip actually, every time something stops you from writing, make a note of what it is. What do you go and do instead of write? If it's do the laundry, then, schedule time in your calendar, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to do the laundry. I'm going to go and hang the laundry out. If it's cleaning up after your kids, build that into your calendar and then you will feel less resentful about the fact that you have to clean up after the little bastards. I'm really glad I don't have children. I'm going to get hate mail now. Doesn't mean I hate children, everybody. So just make it easier for yourself. And if you take note of what stops you from doing the writing, then you can take steps to mitigate it. Yeah. So what's the takeaway for this podcast, Joe?
Remove friction?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Good answer.
Lubricate.
Correct answer. Okay, next week. Takeaway from this podcast, lubricate. Next week, we'll be talking about lust.
Okay.
Tune in to find out how I'm going to twist that one into a podcast episode based on writing.
Oh, okay.
Not entirely sure, but I do have a vague memory that I had an idea and wrote it down, so hopefully
it's in the notes.
Hopefully it's in the notes. Tune in next week, find out how lust will stop you from writing your book.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right, what's going on in the world of Moxie Books, Joe?
The waiting list for the live Write Your Book course is open.
It is! The course starts on June the 1st, and you can join the waiting list right now. You can go to moxiebooks.co.uk/90-day-book-course-live. That's a terrible URL. Why do I do this? URL. The link's in the show notes.
Or email Vicky.
Or email me and I'll send you the link. The link is in the show notes and the link is also in the email that you may have got to tell you about this episode. I need to sort this shit out. Why do I do this?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
If you've listened to every episode, email us with your postal address and we'll send you a special super fan gift.
Yes, we will. And if you like this podcast, please go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from and subscribe. It helps us climb the rankings. And please leave us a review.
5 stars.
5 stars and a lovely, lovely review. We love reading your reviews. Joe loves reading your reviews particularly. And while we're on the subject of reviews, if you've got my book, How the Hell Do You Write a Book, please go to Amazon and leave me a review. I will love you forever, and I'm not even exaggerating or lying.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Right, thanks, Joe.
No worries.
We'll be back same time next week.
Talking about lust.
Talking about lust and books. A lust for books. We just talk about lust for books. I just love books.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. You can find links and show notes on the website at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast, where you can also sign up for the best daily emails in the multiverse and find loads of free resources to help you write your book. We'll be back the same time next week with more tales from the book writing trenches and the latest on what the tiny sheeps have been up to.